On February 14, 2003, the death of one specific sheep sent ripples across the globe. This singular sheep's death sparked such important questions to be asked that she rocked the questions of morality, principles, and ethics. But who was and what did the sheep do that forever changed the world of biology? This sheep was named Dolly, and Dolly was the first ever case of a successfully fully cloned animal.
Hello, Dolly. Dolly is the name of the first mammal, yes, a sheep, ever to be born as the result of cloning.
The first living, breathing clone of an adult mammal.
Are we acting more like the creator than creatures? Are we trying to play the role of God on this?
It's possible we're seeing a scientific explosion comparable to the atom bomb or the moon rocket or DNA itself.
Soon it will be possible to give her thousands of absolutely identical sisters.
Dolly the sheep was the first ever to be coined as the first successfully cloned animal. But contrary to popular belief, the true first ever cloned animal was a sea urchin in 1885. Scientist Hans Dreich was able to replicate cells that were able to grow on their own. While the cells were able to replicate itself, it only grew into half an embryo, unlike Dolly. Despite the cloning in 1885 not being able to replicate an entire animal, it was the first ever case of successful cloning. Dolly the sheep was just the first ever full animal successful cloning. But why was Dolly the golden child of the cloning world? Why not put the spotlight on the sea urchin from Germany that was able to clone itself before electricity was widely installed in homes? The answer to this question? Media. Considering the time our sea urchin was replicated, the media was still underdeveloped and poor. But on the contrary, when Dolly was cloned, we now had multiple different forms of media. The television, growing internet, telephone, newspaper, and more made the case of Dolly widespread and known. The use of media made Dolly famous. But what else has the media done for us and Dolly? Because of the media, the world was able to realize its potential and what it could do with our growing technology. The first ever cloned animal coming out only half a decade after laptops were introduced only shows how fast technology continues to grow. Since Dolly's introduction to the world, we have introduced hundreds of different types of phones, reformed artificial intelligence, and even made it more accessible to everyone, as well as even making virtual reality headsets Dolly have been positive for our society. But what about the things that ended up being negative? As mentioned before, the reason the cloned sea urchin seemed revolutionary was because of the lack of media coverage. But now that our forms of media have expanded and grown as much as it has, Dolly's case has skyrocketed to the top of the front page paper. Because so much is covered by the media now, it's not hard for something this level to become so widely known. Because of the discovery of cloning through Dolly, thousands of animals are cloned a year. But how much of them hit the media? These animals are talked about so little, we don't know much about them. Not only that, but laws concerning these animals aren't restrictive and sometimes don't treat them as fellow peers to the barnyards or institutes they occupy. Just because these animals aren't the same as other animals, why should they be treated as such? This leaves us asking, when do we stop? Some argue that we as a society are going too far, directly defying nature and its quote-unquote laws. Because our technology is where it's at now, we have begun disregarding much of our own morals for the sake of money, a corrupt curiosity, and fame. Scientists have been asking the question of morality regarding animal cloning for years because of this and Dolly. And although Dolly the sheep lived a relatively normal life, she contracted JSRV alongside other sheep at the Roslin Institute where she was held. Once she died from this condition, scientists, upon further examination, were able to gather that some of her chromosome end caps were shorter than they should have been because of her cloning, causing her lifespan to be shorter than other sheep's. Because she was cloned, she wouldn't have lived the same as other sheep she lived amongst. When this was discovered, this helped scientists realize that cloning does in fact have lasting side effects. But no matter knowing this, people continue to clone animals and treat them unwell as they know that they will never be the same as other animals. But this isn't just within animal cloning. Technology and media have taken this approach for countless other realms. Trends taking over our livelihoods, the need for 5 minutes of fame, and the growing spread of misinformation over virtually everything has continued to rob us of our humanity. This has only begged the question, when do we stop?